9:16 on a Monday morning here at AM 1700 WRCR Haverstraw and WRCR.com. It is the morning show with Jeff and Will. And joining us on the Newsmaker line right now is Tina Traster from the Rockland County Business Journal. That's rcbizjournal.com. Good morning, Tina. How are you?
Good morning, Rockland County, and good morning to you guys. How is everything over there?
We're good. How are you?
I am pretty good. Beautiful weekend.
Yes, indeed it was.
Gorgeous weekend.
Yes.
Today I'm going to leave a little bit at the end to give you some update on High Tour. But first, today it's what's in, what's out. I'm going to talk about some of the things that are going on in the real estate world, which, our real estate world here in Rockland County, which I think point to trends. And so we are going to cite some of the things that we published in a feature that we run called What's the Big Deal? We talked about the purchase of a Montebello parcel on 250 Lafayette Avenue across the street from Good Sam. And
hey, Tina, if you could, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you could just do me a favor and get a little closer to wherever your phone is, that would be helpful.
Okay, hang on. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So should I repeat what I just said, or was that audible?
You can start from the beginning. That's fine.
Okay, yeah. So a group called the Philbin Development Group has purchased 6 acres of property across from Good Sam in Montebello, and they are going to use that parcel to create assisted living. We also know and reported that the former Camp Champion or Camp Merak Gadim was purchased by Gabe Alexander. This is on Clarkstown, West Clarkstown Road, and that purchase was finally sealed. And he also has shown some interest to do senior housing. He originally had proposed 144 units, but Clarkstown recently did some changing to its zoning, and so he will probably have to downscale that by some amount of units. I'm not sure what. What we see is that there's a real hot appetite for assisted living and senior living, even in the now proposed Letchworth property, which signed off that Stony Point Town Council last week. Voted positively on a memorandum of understanding, meaning that the developer who wants to do 450 units there will move forward, to discuss a plan, a contract. But even in that development, of the 450 units, 170 are slated for senior living. So lots of appetite, and we also know, of course, that there are several projects in Clarkstown that have come online or that are coming online. Lots and lots of pent-up demand, it seems, or at least developers in the development world believe that senior living, assisted living, I guess we've got the aging baby boom population, and Rockland County has a lot of large parcels. So we are certainly, a target for that kind of development. Switching gears slightly, also in our What's the Big Deal feature, we reported that the Mount Ivy Diner was sold. Some people might know that, but the details there are pretty interesting. So the diner and the property, both together, sold for $2.23 million to a gentleman by the name of Wilson Bermeo, and he may be familiar to some people out there in the business world because he is also the owner of Puerto del Eden, Spring Valley Supermarket, and the soon to be opened, say October, he says, the Nyack Fresh Supermarket at the old Helen Hayes Theater in Nyack. And we spoke with, it's interesting, we spoke with both the seller and the buyer in this case, and the seller, Archie Laguirre, he said he really wanted to sell this to somebody who would maintain the legacy of the diner, Wilson talked about really the same thing on the other side, which is that he believes in the concept of the classic diner, and while the 27-year-old diner needs upgrades, he still is committed to the diner type of experience. Diners, unlike assisted living and senior living, I think that there are some that we are going to lose, and we know recently that the Airmont Diner was sold and is now becoming a furniture place. So I would not say that the American Diner is imperiled, but I would say that as real estate goes, that they generally have high-profile sites, desirable pieces of property, and I think the pandemic certainly challenged any and every sort of eating institution. So interesting how we've here in the county we've lost one, but the Mount Ivy Diner has been sold, and is certainly seems like it's in the hands of somebody who's very interested in maintaining its legacy. Moving on to, I know we're covering a lot of ground, but moving on to Rockland Plaza, which is owned by Brixmor, we know that Petco is leaving. It's folded up, finishing up whatever's left on its shelves, and I have it on good background that Barnes & Noble, unfortunately, is also going to be leaving us. A moment of sadness there for all of us book lovers.
You're talking about the Barnes & Noble across from the shops at Nanuet?
Yes.
Oh, my. What's going to replace that? That's a big store.
Well, see, that's where I was heading. Because we're talking trends today.
Right.
So Brixmor, the people who own that shopping center, from what I understand, the Marshalls will move down that end into, I guess, the Barnes & Noble or maybe the Petco, maybe the two spaces. I'm not exactly sure down there. But what they envision, and we've talked about this before, about that shopping center, is a shopping center largely based around food options. Almost, it's interesting and ironic. It's almost a mimicking of, when the malls took away the vitality of main streets. Main streets largely became a place for eating, right? We saw all sorts of food pop up along our main streets, food, bars, all kinds of, kind of sort of vertical food offerings to traditional food offerings. And now, as shopping centers find themselves struggling and find themselves becoming more obsolete, as you can see from the state of that shopping center at the moment, now they're looking really to do the same thing, which is to, they might call them food courts, but they're looking for the same thing. They see, they see the activity in food. They're still talking about a major grocer coming to that center, and we can play guess the grocer, or guess who isn't going to be the grocer. But unfortunately, I don't have that data or that information just yet. So that we're going to see a lot of change at that shopping center. And
I did notice they are doing a lot of work on the edge of the building, along Middletown Road, where the doghouse used to be.
Right. So that's going to be. I know what that's going to be. That's going to be something called Ulta Beauty. That's
okay.
A big national chain.
Yep.
That does beauty stuff. So that's the end cap. That's that big last building. Yep, that's underway. The plans that they have before the town in Clarkstown include some building up some out parcels, meaning like basically in the parking lot, you'll see I think they're proposing 2 new buildings to rise up, and also
in the main part of the parking lot, like in the front.
Yeah, in the main part of the parking lot. I mean, it's hard to kind of envision.
That is weird because there's the bank there, and there's the Chipotle and whatever else is attached to that.
The Shake
Shack, yeah.
Shake Shack, and then also there's some uncertainty about the longevity of the Nanuet Diner, as we were talking about diners.
Right. Right.
Right. So there's a lot of trends to take note and to watch and to see where they go. But that's why we're here. That's what we make that easier for you. To wind up, do I have a couple minutes?
We have 3.5 minutes.
Okay, I can do this in less. There is some news about High Tour. I know you asked about High Tour, and there is some news. You might recall that we reported that that the Rockland County's purchasing department put out what's called an RFI, looking for to see who wants to run the High Tour shelter, because there's all of this confusion and chaos that's been swirling around High Tour. We'll be publishing this story a little bit later today. But lo and behold, the deadline was last week, and big surprise, not. High Tour is essentially the only one that stepped up and said, yes, we want to continue to be the county shelter while they're still in that sad, decrepit building. The second entity that threw its hat in the ring is the Hudson Valley Humane Society, but they're only interested in managing the new county shelter once a new building is built. So where the rubber meets the road here is that I'm expecting at least the status quo in the short term, because the contract expires this December. The towns will most likely have to continue to pay the county, which pays High Tour, in order to maintain a county shelter. Humane Society is interested in taking over once a building is built, but we know that is that there's that's in a cloud right now. There's all this murkiness about what is going to happen on that future build. So I think, and Rockland Green, which has made so much noise about wanting to manage the shelter, as for this process, they certainly did not form any sort of nonprofit or look to hire any external outfit to come in and manage the shelter as is. I think what the bottom line here is that despite all of the denigration that High Tour suffers and the reputation that it seems to have, in the end of the day, right now, to keep the animal management going, they're the only ones who have put their hand in the air and said, we'll do it. So I just think that this kind of I'm not saying that ultimately that this is how it's going to end, because they can still issue an RFP and anybody can come and step in. But for now, this process kind of I don't know. It narrowed the field and it showed really what's what. So.
And for more on the bottom line when it comes to High Tour, and the middle line and the top line as well, you can just go to rcbizjournal.com and find out some more information about this story and others. Thank you, Tina, so much for joining us as always. We'll talk to you again next Monday.
Have a great week.
You too. It's AM 1700 WRCR, Haverstraw, WRCR.com. More of the morning show with Jeff and Will coming up tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Right now, we're going to move over for Crossroads of Rockland History with Claire